call to order the February 15th meeting of the Underhill Planning Commission. Does anyone have any additions to the agenda?
I kind of have an addition that's a question.
Yeah.
So somebody asked me this week. So if every house in Underhill now could be a duplex, right? So if you go through the process of permitting, can you have a duplex and an ADU? I didn't see anything in the regulations that says you could not.
I think so. Because I think there's no more single family zoning and everyone's entitled to an ADU. So it seems like.
But I think a duplex becomes the ADU. I don't think you can.
It doesn't say you anywhere.
It must become a multi-family.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't say anywhere in the regulations.
Multifamily can't be more than 3 units in this side of town.
More than
More than 3. Can be 3 units, no more. So maybe you can get a duplex and another. That would be considered probably a triplex.
Is this like someone who wants to do it or more of just a point of curiosity?
Yeah, I was just curious about it. Because he was asking me about some of the changes we were making.
You sure it's not in the regs anyway?
I looked briefly.
Our regs are Act 147 or 47. The one that allows ADUs anywhere.
Oh.
That also includes duplexes.
The latest one.
Is that 47, I think it is? Act 47?
I'm not sure, or 147.
It's one or the other, 140.
Yeah.
And I know it allows duplexes, but I don't believe it says duplexes plus an ADU. It would have to be allowed in that district.
Well, it's just whether maybe we should, just look at the regulations for duplexes.
That's going to be in that Act 147.
So we haven't addressed all of Act 1. We have to apply Act 147 to our regs.
We've been working on that. David has been diligent, but I don't know that.
Review and see. I can't recall.
Yeah. Well, our current
There should be
regs.
something in there that says either one or the other. Basically.
Our regs won't, the state Act 147 will supersede any of our regs.
Right.
So go to Act 147
And see what they say.
I'm almost positive you can't do a duplex and an ADU unless
It's just permanent family.
Unless it's permitted in the town.
So,
I could be wrong, for sure.
yeah, so it all pertains to Act 147.
That's correct.
And if it says that you can do that in there, then we have to go along with that.
That's right, unless, I don't think it can go against covenants of a certain area. Again, I'd have to reread it, but I think covenants can supersede that if they don't allow it.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to read what the state says.
We'll have that on our list. Like to
ask.
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a good question.
it'd take me
It's a good question.
Act 147.
Oh, well. No,
Good thing you're.
you'll have to reread it a few times.
I'll delegate that.
I don't like that part. Did you have anything? Do you want to make any announcements?
Charlie came home. So part of this has to do with the fact that we're interacting a whole lot more with the DRB. Charlie and I are potentially becoming a conflict of interest, and the other responsibilities in my life, I'm resigning.
You're not even resigning, really. You're just not going for your re-up.
The re-up is another 2 years.
Oh, it's 2 years. No, I thought it was coming up.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
town meeting, right.
So you're gonna resign at town meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, I misunderstood. I knew you were leaving at town meeting. I thought your term was just.
No.
Okay.
At town meeting.
All right.
I'm
Sad.
happy to be an alternate or some such, but I'm getting concerned in terms of the amount of litigation the town gets and the fact that Planning Commission, DRB, I'm just like, it could become a conflict.
Did Charlie tell you that I just saw him and Brett?
Yeah, he did.
I just saw them because we were talking about how to try to find a zoning administrator. And I was like, I'm bummed Lee's resigning. He's like, Lee's resigning?
He knew. We purposely try not to talk about anything. Like, I don't want to know most of the time what he's going through with the DRB. But now that he's coming to the planning commissions, and I just
Yeah.
think it could be,
You've been on for a while too.
well, he's been on longer.
Yeah.
And he wants to stay.
Well, we will miss you, and obviously I know we have
Really?
someone who's interested, but I think the right thing to do is
Meg,
also,
will she come?
we have to get the formal stuff from her, but I also think just we need to put a ad in Front Porch Forum or something. So
She do.
So it's public. So I will try to find the last one I did. I think it's still on your account, and I will repost it. So that's for me to do. Repost. Ad. So you have to let us know in advance when your actual last meeting is, because we need to have some going away. stuff.
Yeah, going away
Exactly.
party.
That's right.
Why not?
Yeah, that's right. We'll requisition the
You
upstairs.
missed the last party, it was really good.
Oh, that's true.
That's true, I
This is your
did.
chance, Lee, your last chance.
Learned a lot about everybody.
I already know a lot about you.
Brian, this is Carolyn. I just want to let you know I am here and I'm really sad to hear that,
Yay.
Lee.
Oh, hi, Carolyn.
you switch on?
I don't think is your camera on, Carolyn?
No, I don't want it on, thank
I don't
you.
think she's, I don't think
I can
she's.
You're
see
feeling
you.
wonderful,
You
huh?
don't need to see me.
Oh, no, that's fine. We didn't know if we should turn on, the TV's not on, so.
Okay.
So it
I'm
sounds like
here.
we're good.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, welcome. No public comment. There's no public here. That takes us to review and approve the February 1st minutes. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I know Leah had told me that she wasn't here. Was that wrong in the minutes? I did.
My name was on.
Oh, okay. So
I was not there.
I'll
Yeah.
make a mark that you were, oh, no, it says absent. So we're
Oh, it
good.
does, okay.
Does anyone have any comments or questions on, yeah?
Yeah, so, about halfway down through the minutes, there's a sentence that it misrepresents what I said, actually.
Is this the "they are ugly" sentence, Stephen? Where it says Commissioner Edson suggested use of shipping containers could be explicitly excluded, period. They are ugly, period.
No,
I can stay in there.
farther down,
Okay.
farther down where it begins with, J.R. Tigan said another issue. It's about halfway down through in that paragraph.
Okay.
Okay, and 4 sentences down, it says, that I said, this is. in
Should go with the property.
It's in regards to, business, ownership on
I'm
property.
with you. Yeah, I see
and
it.
whether it's, goes with the property or not.
What do you
So-
want that to say? What was?
Okay,
what
so I
you said?
want to delete where it says it reduces the value of the property if someone else is operating a business there.
Okay.
I never said anything like that.
All right.
But then I want to add in there, what I
Yep.
said was, not allowing a business to transfer with the property will reduce the value of the property.
Not allowing a business to transfer with the property will reduce the value of the property.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
So that's basically what I said.
We were talking about shipping containers, and you do need to get a permit for a shipping container. I saw that
Oh, okay.
in the regulations, so. I guess that's-
So I have to ask, what are you saying there? Not allowing a business to transfer with the property? What do you mean by that?
So
So if
the
Phil,
person
let's
has,
take Phil Potman.
we used Phil as the example.
Okay, so he's up there.
Yeah.
And if he decides to leave, he can't transfer, someone else wants to take over his business, he can't do that?
No, he should be able to. If he's selling a whole property, basically, the business should be able to continue on the property with the new owner.
Yeah, but that,
Grandfathered in.
but
Yeah.
what is it, the statement you just said doesn't say that?
Well, yeah, it does. And what I'm saying is not allowing a business to transfer with the property
Oh,
will
okay.
Yeah.
reduce
So
the
to re-
value of it.
Just to read David's 2 sentences now in the minutes, everyone knows. Commissioner Edson said he thinks any established business should go with the property. Not allowing a business to transfer with the property would reduce the value of the property.
That's what I said.
Okay. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
we
I
can
agree,
argue
but
with that.
yeah, you, well, clarify what you said for sure.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Can I get a motion to approve the February 1st minutes?
So moved.
Sandy, second.
Yeah.
Roy, all in favor?
Uh,
Thank you. Okay, so we leave that. Okay. So that takes us to the DRB issue review from last week. And I took really good notes on everything except I don't remember who took each issue. So maybe we can just, I know David has one. Maybe we can just start with you, David.
Yeah, sure. So, we don't have copies of it, but these, it has to do with definitions, basically. And clarifying on page 189, where it says accessory structure, use. This one has the subordinate word in it, which is confusing for DRB. So what I want to do is delete the word size and also except for barns and add after the word appearance, but not necessarily in size. So the sentence should read this. A structure or use that is clearly incidental, customary, and subordinate in overall appearance, but not necessarily in size, to the principal structure or use of land on the same lot, and retain the rest of it.
What is it you
Any
want to take
questions?
out?
I'll read that again.
So did you just say that you're deleting subordinate?
No, I'm deleting size and also
Well, subordinate-
except for barns. I'm taking that out.
Subordinate in size.
Taking out the size and also taking out except for barns. Dealing with barns elsewhere, I've got two definitions for barns.
Okay.
Because subordinate in size means it needs to be smaller than the house. So so you're
we wanna-
eliminating
Want
just,
to eliminate the size issue.
Right.
there.
Right.
So the sentence should read, a structure or use that is clearly incidental, customary, and subordinate in overall appearance, but not necessarily in size, to the principal structure or use of land on the same lot.
So you want to eliminate except for barns and put the other,
Yeah, I've got two definitions for barns, basically. dealing with that elsewhere.
Right.
It confuses the issue to put barns in there.
We
I think we
decided
should
last
leave barns
time
out
that
of that, right?
barns is.
Yeah, he's saying-
agricultural.
Barnes is gonna have its own separate
Yeah.
description that's just gonna be agricultural use only. Is that
Well,
correct?
I've got two different,
According to the
agricultural and our accessory structure.
So before David gets to Barnes,
Yeah.
Okay.
assuming for a second that I think everyone agreed Barnes is coming out of here.
Yeah.
So sorry to cut you off, Roy, but
Oh, no, that's
just before we get to Barnes, is everyone good with what David just read? Does anyone object to what David read?
nope.
No, that's good.
Everything clear?
Yeah. Clear enough.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna, I'll keep notes of what everyone says on one
Okay.
copy and then maybe I'll scan it and send it around or something. We'll figure that bit out, but yeah.
Okay, then for barn, this would go on in page 191. There's nothing there on barns, so this is an addition on that page. The one definition, first one is barn, comma, state defined. One of various farm structures that fall under the jurisdiction of the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets.
Where do you have that? What
He's-
page?
This
He's
is
adding,
this is
defi-
new.
adding a definition.
I looked up what the state says about agricultural barns and so on, and, and they have an application form for it, and their accepted practices for so and so and so and so. This just notes that, I'll read it again.
Thank you.
One of various farm structures that fall under the jurisdiction of the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets. There are several structures that go under the state definitions of accessory agricultural buildings. Well, I don't know. It includes silos. It includes lagoons. It includes, a whole lot of agricultural things as well as barns. So this just says that a barn state defined would be, as I've read here.
David, in the Agency of Ag, do they say that these barns have to be commercial? In other words, could it, I know in other contexts, they're always talking about commercial ventures, but we have a lot of barns that aren't commercial.
Yeah, I had a question about that too. If you have,
Well, what they say is, the farming operation has to meet the state-defined regulations for
okay,
farming practices as they define it.
Okay.
Yeah.
so if you're building a barn and you want to keep your 2 horses in there,
Yeah.
it might not be a barn according to the state definition.
Right.
So you need to get a building permit for that structure.
Yeah.
In town, but if you're building a barn for your cows, you don't.
Well, you have to go
Whatever.
to the state and get it.
Yeah, see the
approved.
definition
All-
from the
Go
state.
through
I
their
don't
whole
like
process.
that.
There's
I
several
don't either.
pages, basically, and a form to fill out, et cetera, et cetera.
So barns are
No.
used for I'm gonna disagree a little bit because a barn is also a style.
But when you have two
Nah, we're getting
choices,
away
So I
from
have
style.
another, I have
No,
second
no, I'm
definition.
We
talking
talked
about-
about that last week.
No, I'm talking about a building like,
Chamberlain's barn.
no, I'm talking of like a building like Potvin's daughter, what's her name, that finally got permission for the wedding venue. That's a
I'm-
barn.
Well, I have a second definition.
I think David's gonna give us
It's
2
not a-
routes you can take with a barn. I think
What's the
David's
other
gonna give us a
definition?
I have a
second.
definition, or barn, second definition for barn.
Okay.
Barn, accessory structure, comma, use. One of various structures accessory to the principal structure, period.
But how is it,
And then a little note, see accessory structure use.
so accessory structure use will limit the size of that?
No, it doesn't. We're getting rid
Accessory
of it.
structure. So how did Potvin's barn fill into that? What's
That's a
that?
wedding venue. We're gonna come up with a new definition.
That's gonna be
for
a
it.
whole new thing.
It's gonna
Okay.
be a wedding venue
And that's a
or
particular
event
use.
venue.
It's
Is that what
defined
we
as
decided?
separately.
Something like an event venue.
We will have.
We just
will
haven't gotten
put-
to it yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So my opinion is that barns, agricultural barns include 2 horses in a barn.
But according to
It
the state,
I know, but how can we segregate some and not other? I don't know. I don't
What's
agree
your,
with that.
what's your concern, Sandy?
My
What's the
concern is
problem?
that you build a barn for 2 horses, but what's to say you're not going to use it for cows in the future? You know, it's an agricultural use.
so you don't need a permit for it, you think, or you do?
I think it has to adhere to the standards that the Agency of Ag has for manure disposal and other things. But I think the structure itself, it's agricultural. I think
But it's not
So do you
under
want us
the,
to, do you want us to have a separate exemption or favoritism for a barn that doesn't meet state standards and is just something that somebody puts up in their backyard and I'm gonna have a couple of cows in it? So we'll have in our regulations, well, this is our definition of a agricultural barn, and we'll say, no, we're not gonna tax this or something or other. I don't know. I don't think
Well,
I'd be in
but
favor of doing that.
agricultural barns are taxed, aren't they?
Well, I don't know
Unless
exactly
they're
how the
part
state
of-
deals with it. but
unless
it's-
they're
but
part
at
of
a
current
lower
use.
tax rate.
They have to be part of current use, though. They have to apply for
I
that.
think you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Cindy,
I don't
you
think it
just
has to
lost
be
me on-
current use. I mean, it's an agricultural use that fits their definitions. There's several pages that the state has, or the agriculture.
I think we need to look at that, because if somebody's just building a barn for their 2 horses, it might not fall under the state
No, it wouldn't.
definition of an agricultural
It
barn,
wouldn't.
so they need to get a building permit.
Are
from the
you
town, if that's
concerned
what
with
the-
too broad or too narrow with what we're, I'm
Too
just trying to catch
narrow.
up.
It's not
No, wait a minute.
including, you know, say I want to buy, I got 2 sheep. We'll take it out of the, out of the horse arena and put it into sheep, something, and I'm gonna use them for meat, but I'm not selling them.
And you're saying they should be able to do that as an agricultural
Yes.
building?
Yeah.
Well, it's an accessory structure that
Yeah,
that
exactly.
falls into that.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my point. is
Yeah, I
that-
agree with you.
That barns are regulated by the state for agricultural purposes. The rest of these housing for animals or cars or anything else, although they're barns, we don't call them barns, they're just an accessory structure.
No, I go along with that totally.
Yeah.
It's only whether it's commercial agriculture or not. And there's all kinds of exemptions if it's commercial, but not if it's for home use.
She's right. It has to do with, yeah,
Mhm.
So that's what
taxes.
I'm doing. That's what I'm saying here.
I
I
thought,
know that's what you're saying. My argument is that I think we should encourage agriculture in the town.
Oh,
And if this is one phase of that, then maybe we should look at that.
I would think that would fall in David's second definition, because I thought what we were trying to do, like taking a step back, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's important to carve out the state building, like the exact state definition, just because we have no authority over it. Like if you fall within the state definition, it doesn't matter what we say. You do whatever the state tells you to do. So that's David's first definition. And then maybe in the second definition, we give them broader authority if that's what you're arguing for, Sandy. So if it's a barn, but it doesn't fall within the state agricultural definition, well, maybe we want to give you a little more leeway to have a barn for 2 horses or something like that. But I think we still need David's first definition, because what we're saying is we can't touch these. Even if we want to, it's not up to us. It's up to the state.
The second definition I have, it just includes barn. It's just another accessory structure.
So then we could put a reg in that says, hey, if you're an accessory structure barn, you could do this that other accessory structures can't do if we wanted to.
Yeah, but
Right?
Yeah, but that's where you
Am
get
I
into
thinking
that
about it?
problem
I disagree with-
of use.
yeah,
Yeah.
I disagree with
If,
that.
if we used this definition for, instead of
That's a good
state
point.
defined, if we said agricultural, and we said one of various farm structures that falls under the jurisdiction or is for agricultural use.
Do you think we're opening up a Pandora's box? So like, what if I tuck one horse in my building and then I use it? The other
Well, you would have to go,
7,000 square feet for something else.
you would have to go
Oh,
to get a
where's,
barn.
where's the agricultural line?
The
Yeah,
state
right.
spells it out. I think they tell
No,
you
no,
that.
but
That's
Sandy's
just-
saying don't do the state, just say it's for agricultural use. And I'm saying, are we opening a Pandora's
Well,
box?
I'm not sure. I think horses is probably under their jurisdiction as well. I don't know.
No,
Let me
if
just
it's a-
find out.
Would a riding
Could be.
stable be agricultural?
I would
Are you
think
reading
so.
the state regulations there?
Yeah.
What does it say? You have to
I'm
have like
talking
10
about-
chickens
I'm
and
talking about
5.
Act 40, I'm looking at Act 47.
Yeah.
Why do we care what it's used for?
yeah, we don't.
We
don't.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so
It's an accessory
so that's-
structure.
Yeah, that is.
It's purely
and
permitted.
if it's an agricultural barn, and they have to go to the state, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And then if it's anything else, then it's accessory structure, and it doesn't matter what it's used for.
Sandy, you're talking about kind of like current use type stuff, right? Where you can get a tax adjustment based on the use of your land and not subdividing it. And it can be either agricultural or it could be forestry.
That's one way that commercial farmers do it, yeah. But I'm
Doesn't have to
thinking,
be just
okay, in our
commercial farmers, though.
definitions, once we define something as not agriculture, then it doesn't, we have all kinds of exemptions in here for, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but
But the only exemption that, if you wanted to build a barn that did not fit within state regulations, okay, you didn't have to get the state permit, but you wanted to build a barn for your horses, then you just need to come in and get a building permit, period. What's the big deal with that? It's like an accessory structure. It's the same thing. So I don't think to simplify things because somebody, or to give somebody a break because they want to raise a couple of sheep or have their horses on their property, it's not a big deal to just come in and spend your $50 on your building permit and build the building. Fit it within the setbacks that the town has spelled out for accessory structures.
So here's an example. On our rural residential district, if you have a structure for agriculture, it's a permitted use. The zoning administrator can deal with it. However, if it's an accessory structure, it's a conditional use.
Read the
Okay.
first part of that again.
Wait, what
That's
page
what
is
it
that?
says.
Say it
in
again,
here.
say it again.
So if we're in the rural residential
R1,
district,
okay.
yeah. Permitted uses, agriculture. Okay? Conditional use, accessory structure.
Well, that's wrong.
That's 3-acre zoning.
Yeah, but you can build an accessory structure you don't need to get a conditional use permit for
Yeah, I
accessory
mean,
structure. So
Unless
that's,
it's,
I think that's wrong. We need
Well,
to,
it's in our
I'm
regs.
glad you picked that out because we should
Well, we need to
change
fix- we need
that.
to fix
yeah,
it.
right.
There is language in the rural residential zone about aesthetics and trying to preserve the scenic corridor. So if you don't have a limit on what the building could be, it could be something like the
Well,
Potter's garage in the scenic corridor. But rural residential isn't in the scenic corridor.
well, it's like.
Where is
do you
rural
need
R1 in the scenic corridor? Mostly scenic corridor is 5-acre, 10 or 15-acre zoning, and it's typically going Pleasant Valley.
Right.
So do
I will
do you
just-
need a conditional permit for a garage
No. Conditional
with an
permit is,
accessory structure?
no, that's just a permit, accessory
Then why,
structures.
then what's this conditional
that's
use
wrong.
for an accessory structure?
Well, these
I
are,
don't know. I'm
these are
just
in the
reading
regs.
what we
I'm glad,
got
I'm
here.
glad somebody's reading the regs.
Oh,
It sounds like-
that's what we got this thing for.
It sounds like we need to-
190 odd pages to go through.
It'll take you a while to get through it.
It seems like we need to add it to our list. My main, Sandy, I am philosophically like super supportive of what you're saying. I think the issue is, I don't know how you avoid the slippery slope argument. Like,
Yeah.
which I usually don't like those arguments, but here it's like, it seems like we have a binary choice. Either you could, I mean, we went through it with our barn for my wife's farm. We got a permit, right? Like, but you could either have made me get a permit, or I just like can stick one chicken in there and say, whoa. I mean, it's tricky. Or else you need to get really detailed, like no agriculture means you have 3 horses or 2 cows, or how do we avoid that? I'm asking.
Yeah, and you always have the thing where you build it as an agricultural thing and then you don't use it for agriculture
Sure.
anymore.
Well, when people change their minds, it's
Yeah.
more just like, how do you avoid the bad actor up front who like is purposely using that exemption?
Yeah, but even if that
Oh, no,
happened, the
they can't.
lister's gonna come by and assess the value of the barn. They're gonna know that the building was built because you would have gotten a state permit, so they're gonna go by and assess the property and,
what would you get a state permit for?
for an agricultural.
Like a real
a
farming
barn, like if you wanted to build something like the chain.
See, I'm not sure you have to do that.
You don't.
I don't think there's a permit, you just build it, right?
Well, you don't have to get a state permit. That would be just town.
Yeah, anybody
Why-
building a sugar house, you do not need to get a town
Yeah,
building
because
permit.
it's agriculture.
It's agriculture.
Yeah, but I'm
So
just saying,
I
I
don't
don't
know
even
if
think
there's-
there's a state permit, is there? I think you just
No.
build it. Is state approval?
No,
No,
No.
that's a good question.
you don't need state approval to build a barn
You just build it.
or build an agricultural building. No, you might have to prove to the state what you're doing to get the tax deduction, but you don't need a permit from the state.
I
Why do you
don't
think
know
you
about
do?
that. I don't know.
No, you don't, but if you don't
No.
get a permit from the state, then it's just an accessory structure in town.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta get a
not
town
a
permit.
permit from the
Approval.
state. It's approval for the
Yeah, approval
current use.
or
It's
whatever.
not a permit.
But not all farms apply for
Okay, I'm not sure what that
that.
has
So
to do
what
with
you're
it.
saying is that if somebody wants to build an agricultural barn, they can just do it and nobody's gonna check how close it is to the borders or, that kind of thing?
I don't
No,
think
I
we're
don't-
saying that at all.
Well, if there isn't any permit from the state or the
The town,
town.
that's a good
I
question.
didn't say there wasn't a necessary for a permit from the town. The state's not gonna require a town to get a permit for someone who wants to do agricultural. The only reason you're going to the state is to prove that you have an agricultural deduction or you have a, like current use forestry.
The
I
question,
think we're speculating quite a bit here. I think we need to look at,
we need to understand how the
I
state.
think we
will-
need to read the state regulation for
Not about the
for-
taxes,
for an
just about
agricultural
literally
barn.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Look and see what the requirement is for something to be
I
considered.
started that, and
Yeah,
it's a little
how
bit
far did you get?
involved.
Yeah. So,
There were 2 pages with references and references and references.
I feel like this,
I got it.
I might just start by asking Brad.
yeah,
Because that's relevant to our definition. Like if the state, if we have zero control, then what's the?
wow.
You can
The
understand.
state only gets involved when someone's trying to get a tax break. State is not going to tell a town whether they can issue a permit for a barn or structure or not. It only has to do with current use. Yeah.
I totally agree with Lee.
No,
As a lister, it had been for taxation purposes only, hands off if it's an ag building. Anything
Well, I
else,
think-
we had to measure them, we had to acknowledge them, but they were not taxable.
But I think, Carolyn, the question is, let's say, pick on Tisbert just because they're by my house and are an actual operating farm, part of an Underhill. Let's say Tisbert wanted to build a giant barn in Underhill on their land. Forget the taxes. Would they come to the town and say, we're building this big barn,
Yes,
we need a permit? Or would they just say, we're a farm and we have authority from the state to build this barn?
I believe, as town administrator it may have changed. They have to conform to setbacks, etc., but they will not be paying it like Tisber's, we know, was an operating farm. So he has to meet the requirements, setback requirements, etc., but he doesn't get charged for the permit fee and he doesn't get charged for taxes.
So you have to meet the rules, but you don't actually file an application or anything like that.
He has to file an application. He just doesn't just.
It's all
But the
free.
fee is exempt.
It's
Got
all
it.
about
Okay.
money.
Got it. Understood. Thank you, Carolyn and Lynn.
So we should at least have some,
We should probably still delineate it because.
and have something in the regulations that say what Carolyn just said.
Yep.
Right? But you think something's going to be simple to resolve and it just opens up 10,000 other questions.
So David, can you read, so just back to the first definition, I got almost all of it. One of various farm structures that fall under the jurisdiction of, and I couldn't write that.
Well, I can give you this copy here.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, man, we have a definition for agriculture.
Oh, we do.
As defined by the Vermont Secretary of Ag to include the cultivation or other use of land for growing food, fiber, Christmas trees, maple sap, or horticulture and orchard crops, the raising, feeding, or management of livestock, poultry, equines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have that already. And so
why did they give the Butlers a hard time about how they were moving the lines on their property in terms of being able to stay in current use? They definitely sugar. They were told they couldn't get
well, maybe they were already under the ag. I don't know.
they've always been,
Don't know what you're talking about.
There's a
Butler
different
property.
definition for the current use if you're agriculture or if you're forestry. And maple sugaring is sort of.
what does it just say
Well,
there?
Hold on, there's another definition for farm structure
Because they're being
that is
denied.
incredibly detailed.
What page are you on?
Page 197. I mean, it literally lists how many swine, goats, sheep, deer, turkeys.
Whoa.
So, or maybe, David, we refer back, maybe the barn refers to back to here somehow.
Yeah.
Barn state defined.
Excludes
Probably
the-
I looked this all over, yeah.
I mean,
Oh
this
my
is referring back to the Vermont Secretary of Agriculture, just like you did. I'm wondering if we don't change this barn definition or refer back to this farm structure in some way.
Well, see, this is where I disagree with using that. I mean,
Yeah, I'm with you.
15 of these and 100 hens. I mean, it doesn't really make sense for
Yeah,
some place.
What was it? I like,
We could just put in here the, something like, you know, something defined under the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets. You know, rather than going into all this detail.
what was the one you
This
just
is-
read
Well,
before?
the agriculture one really makes sense.
What
because
page are
it's
you on
nice
with
and
that one?
well, my pages are different. I have 196,
The
Just
definition
look
of
for
agriculture is on
agriculture.
190 in this one.
190.
So, but the farm structure is referring to the state regulation.
Yeah.
It's all-
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah,
It
maybe
gets
it's
50 turkeys and that's the state regulation, right?
It has to be.
Yeah, okay.
like they changed it. you know?
What was the-
Yeah, I'd rather use the
Sure.
agricultural one,
Yeah.
which is very broad.
Yeah, and if this is true, then the butlers ought to be able to get what they want too.
I'm not sure that we need, you know, the definition of farm structure at all.
Yeah.
Well, the question is, where is that? We got to figure out where it's used in the Word version of the document.
Well, but we're sort of separating this situation.
Good catch, Sandy.
Yeah.
Agricultural products.
Wait, so David, then would we be changing the definition of barn to something that refers back to agriculture? You think?
Don't know.
Seems like the farm structures is like Lee said, is going to referring to the tax
Yeah.
implications.
Maybe that's used somewhere in the in like referring to property taxes or something.
Well, I don't know that it'll be in our regs because that's a state regulation.
Where would it come up?
We used to have a thing called land use here, where if you kept your property out, if you had 25 acres or more, you got a tax break, but
We
I
still
don't,
have that.
we do.
But it's open space or something
Yeah,
like that.
we still have
instead.
that.
So current use is the state.
Yeah, we have a local one too.
Yeah, I thought we got rid of that.
No, we still have it.
So why
I
would you
will
need to?
volunteer to go to the whole document and do a search on agriculture and farm structures and see
Oh, great.
where they come in
Oh, that'd be awesome.
and, yeah.
Look it over also.
a lot going on here.
Simplify something about this, keep things consistent.
Sandy reviewing agriculture and farm structure. So is that, do we think that's like the first, so do we kind of put barn on hold until Sandy comes back with where agriculture
Yeah,
is
well, look
used?
it over also and maybe have suggestions.
All right, so you're going to review barn.
Yeah.
Thanks, David.
All the stuff also. We want to keep things simple if we can. Or make them more simple or get rid of complications.
Okay.
Seems like at some point somebody said barn is confusing, let's use farm structure as the term.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree that so that we don't need barn in the definition.
Yeah, that's a good
It's not
idea.
applicable.
Farm
That's
structure.
accessory structure.
Right. Right, I'll have to look at that and see.
Well, the definition of accessory structure is done at least, so that's good.
Well, maybe we ought to put that on hold until we really go through this and see if.
Oh, you mean put that on hold too because of stripping
Yeah.
out the word
Right.
barn? Okay, let me make a note. Accessory structure, okay. Okay. Who else? Roy, you had something.
I just had the easy one, I think. It was the 15-day
Oh, yeah.
period of present, before you take before you apply for to go before the DRB for a permit.
Yeah.
A subdivision permit, conditional use permit, whatever it might be. You need to, I didn't find anywhere in the regs where it said you needed to put all the information into the zoning administrator 15 days prior to the 15 days prior to the warned hearing. So I just came up with something simple that somebody can make sound more official if they like. The DRB and zoning administrator require all paperwork pertinent to a warned hearing to be submitted to the zoning administrator 15 days prior to the hearing. A failure to do so will result in a postponement of the hearing.
We talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Sometimes you aren't given enough time to review all the
Well,
information.
it's not, it doesn't say anywhere in the regulations. And I remember when I went before the DRB a couple times, that the zoning administrator said, you know, you gotta get this letter out, these letters out to the adjoining landowners, and you need to do this 15 days prior, but it's not written anywhere. So I think it depends on who the zoning administrator is and how they, what their requirements are. It's like so I think they were just using the same timeline as you would use for getting a building permit. That you want, they want they want the permit issued and then you have to wait 15 days. So if somebody's going in front of the DRB to do apply for a permit to whatever it is they need from the DRB, they have to get the information into the zoning administrator 15 days prior, not 15 business days, just 15 days
Yeah,
prior.
didn't we cover that last
Yeah, I thought,
meeting?
not last meeting, the meeting before, because I was here for that.
Well, no, it was assigned to me last meeting, so I did it.
So,
I don't remember 2 meetings
so
ago.
do you have the actual change? Wait, can you read the change again, Roy?
It's just an addition to,
Where's it going in though?
it's going in on page, wait a minute, what page number was it?
Well, what's the section is,
It's under subdivision, I think it's 4.7 or
is it
something.
7.3B?
Yeah. So the DRB and zoning administrator require all paperwork pertinent to a warned hearing to be submitted to the zoning administrator 15 days prior to the hearing. A failure to do so will result in a postponement of the hearing. So,
How about may result in?
Oh, wait, I think it's 5.2.
Well, then there would be an open door. Well, it only
yeah,
says May.
well, I mean,
Okay.
the zoning administrator might say, you're 2 days late on this, I'll take it anyway, that's fine, but
In the
that's,
regulation.
that's up to whoever is in charge.
I don't like shall.
Would-
Shall means you gotta do it.
I know.
Is it 5.2B2 or something like that? I'm trying to find it. So I
Then
can
if there's an
insert
exception for some reason, you can't do it because of the shall.
No, that's regulation.
it. Here's-
That's why I don't like the word shall.
Development review here.
I know.
Yeah, it's in the hearing
Page
section.
112, I think it is.
Yeah, okay. The DRB may waive
Okay.
hearing within 30. Okay.
So right
where am I
before
going?
hearing, it would be, okay, so we go at the very beginning.
Of B2
Application
hearing?
requirements, applications,
But it says hearing within 30 days of receipt of the substantially
be-
completed application, the zoning administrator consultation with the chair of the DRB shall schedule a public hearing on the application to be warned in accordance with Act, blah, 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 blah.
so this is after you've applied for your hearing, you have a date, you have 15 days prior to the hearing, you need to get the information to the zoning administrator. So application requirements, it should be right under that.
Right.
It's on,
Okay.
there is a paragraph that says application requirements,
So maybe
page
we had a
111.
new, we had a new 5 maybe, the application requirements in 111.
Yeah.
Can I see it? Can I see the language or read it again? One of the two.
Okay.
Sorry.
The DRB and zoning administrator require all paperwork pertinent to a warned hearing to be submitted to the zoning administrator 15 days prior to the hearing. A failure to do so will result in a postponement in the hearing. Is that good?
I'm going to ask you, the DRB and zoning administrator require all paperwork pertinent to a warned hearing to be submitted.
To the zoning administrator
Yep,
15 days prior
yep,
to the hearing. A
okay.
failure to do so will result in postponement in the hearing.
A failure. Okay, good.
So what section under 5.2 is there?
I was thinking we added as a new 5 under 5.2A5,
Page 111.
page 111.
Does that conflict with the, under B, where it says,
The 30 days.
That's after a
That's-
permit has been approved, it has 30 day, or approved or denied. That's the time period of which the permit sits open for people to contest. That's not prior to the granting of the
okay,
permit.
I get it.
Yeah, they do relate to, yeah, agreed, Leanne. They do relate to each other. It's interesting because the zoning administrator has to schedule the hearing within 30 days of it being
application.
substantially complete. But we're also saying that's not good enough. You gotta have everything in 15 days prior.
Prior to the hearing.
Okay, I got it.
I think that's what they were asking.
It is 100%.
Yeah, they need time to review it.
And it feels like it should go in application requirements, not under hearing.
Yeah.
'Cause
Okay,
it's like
so that would be,
number 5.
yeah, number 5.
Yeah.
5.2 development review process,
5.2A.
5.
application requirements. right?
5.2A2
Five.
or A5, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I got it. It's in the right space. Thank you, Roy. So I know someone else.
Yeah, I
Art, did
have-
you have something or Sandy or Q?
No.
I
Sandy?
do,
Okay.
yeah. So I took on the wedding.
Yes,
All right.
the big one.
So I learned a couple of things. Nobody seems to have wedding as a definition and, you know, that as an event. So they've dealt with it a couple different ways. Hartford used public assembly facility, and then they have a definition. Heinsberg used a functional hall. And their definition was use of a barn or similar structure, existing or new. And,
Existing or new opens the
Well, that's
door.
good. Copy
Yeah.
that.
yeah, so that's a possibility. The public assembly facility is any structure or area where a large number of people collect to participate in or observe programs.
Debauchery.
Including performing art facilities, and I added weddings and special events. And then they also have some differences in permitted versus conditional use depending on the size of the building. So if it's under 2,500 square feet, that is mostly allowed in most of the residential districts, but if it's larger than that, then it needs permits, conditional use permits.
So they have a size restriction.
So they use sizes. Heinsberg had some interesting, they had special conditions, which included that the road access had to be on a first, second, or third class road, so it couldn't be somebody's private road up in, I guess. 50
It had to be on what class road?
first, second, third,
Not class 4 road.
right,
Yeah.
or
Or a
driveway.
Say that
Shared
part again?
driveway.
Or private road.
Say that about private roads?
It didn't say anything about private road. It said road access has to be via state or town road, class 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, that would
Okay.
exclude
That's a shall.
Squaw Betty. Not
Yeah.
a shall,
Yeah.
not a shall.
So
They don't have a permit though.
50-foot side and rear setbacks, no residence closer than 500 feet.
Ooh,
That's a lot.
that's Potvins is already,
They're not getting one permit though, are they?
yeah, they got approval.
Oh, they do?
Well, it's being appealed by the abutting landowners, but
Right. I think, that kind of deals with noise and other things. I don't know.
I see what they're doing.
Yeah. Anyways, they have a list of things that they've thought about.
I'd be cautious here about the road thing.
Yeah, right. Let's call Betty as a good example.
They're class 4 road.
Yeah, but Squaw Betty, they don't even have a permit for that, do they?
They have approval for it.
Oh, they
Do
do?
they have
Yeah, they
weddings up
They
there?
do. They managed to work
Got a
with
lot of
Andrew.
parking?
They worked with Andrew on that and how Duncan described it and what it was done and how it was done.
Well,
They
I
got
would be
approval.
concerned about roads, so say there's some sort of incident and fire trucks have, is the road going to be sufficient
that's probably
for
why they're
that,
doing it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the fire trucks have been up to Squaw so.
Have they?
Well, I'm not
Yeah,
talking
they had a
about
fire, but it's sitting
Well,
there.
that
It's
is an
there. You
example.
can disallow it by using that language.
Exactly.
And I don't want to disallow that.
No, me neither.
So I'd be cautious about the
Yeah,
language.
but you can't
that we
take the
use.
permit away if they're already approved for it.
It's a permit for.
Seems like the
a
state can do
single
whatever they
incident.
want. What was that?
Permit for a single incident, huh?
They have a permit for a single
I don't
incident?
know. I mean, they
No,
just have
no,
a
they were
permit.
approved to continue doing, it was, I'd have to see if I can find the old emails, but it was some conversation that Duncan had with Andrew. And they went through all the zoning regs, and they went through everything they did, and by the way Duncan described what they did, Andrew gave him the approval to have it.
Without any conditional use approval by the DRB.
That's
That
correct.
doesn't seem like that is legit to me, to have a house
Why not?
where
Well,
you can
let's
have
not
a
go
wedding.
back, let's go forward.
Yeah, there you
What do
go.
we
That's
want to
good.
do?
Well, one of the
Yeah.
funny things about you just using Squaw Valley as an example, you see the tension between the 500-foot rule and like a class 4 road rule, because if you let people go with something like Squaw Valley, well,
They've
they're
got
not
the
really bugging
500 foot.
anybody because they're so far away from everybody, right?
Except for the road.
But the road is what allows that, right? So, yeah, they're kind of, those 2 points are kind of in conflict.
Well, we could start with, what's the term we want to use?
Yes,
Do we want to have an actual, do we want to use a functional hall and then define it? Do we want to use a public assembly facility? Or
Why
do
can't we
wanna
use a wedding
something
venue?
I would
Why can't we
say
use
event
that?
venue would be better
Event
than
venue.
I like event venue.
Yeah, I do too.
It's also, we already have one public, I can't remember what it's called, public thing defined, which is government building.
Yeah,
So
it would
it's
be like some sort of non-profit thing. That's what I thought of when you said public.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, like a church even.
So event venue,
Town meeting.
does anyone hate the term event venue? That seems.
No, I
you know,
kinda like
that's a
that.
good one.
That's good.
Okay, event venue, what's next?
Here, do you like this definition? Any structure or area where large numbers of individuals collect to participate in or observe programs, including performing art, facilities, weddings, special events.
I generally like it. My one comment, actually to pick up on, I think Meg observed it last time, was we don't want to catch people. I feel like we need to say where you're doing it regularly or for commercial purposes or something, because your point was like you host your cousin's wedding. That's clearly not meant to be included.
So, commercial?
Well,
But that's
incidental
already,
use.
actually in the regulations, I came across something today that talked about one-off events
Okay.
that are allowed. And
Yeah, an
I think
incidental
I-
use, basically.
Yeah, I think I saw that somewhere. I don't recall. It was,
Do we need to,
At the end, you could say other than incidental.
Yeah.
other than incidental use?
yeah, like,
Yeah, like your
They're already-
daughter's getting married or something.
yeah, no,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
There's-
Depending what incidental uses.
I think it was
Like you
under temporary.
host a
Once in a
wedding
while.
once a summer, twice a summer for your relatives.
Well, I have
Where you have
4
a
or 5 or
party.
6, 7 functions.
Yeah, like where's the line?
But it's not commercial, it's just because I like to have good
You
times.
just love
It's
throwing
like-
bashes.
It would be like the Fight Club yearly event at Schneider's, it's just a one-off once a year that you do. So I think it was under temporary structures even in the regs. I'll look it up, but.
Well, maybe we put other than an occasional incidental use or something like that, just to make it, to Tim's point, like where's the line? Right?
Well, that sounds redundant.
What if I want to have a DJ every weekend just because? I like
I'm in,
to
I'll be
party.
there.
You're in? All right. But aside from the fact that Roy will be there.
So I think as far as the definition goes, we don't need to talk. Do we need to say other than?
Why
You're
can't
saying-
we
You're getting
use
a
wedding
permit.
venue? Why can't we use that?
Well, because they could be using I'm just anticipating other
Birthday
event kind of
parties.
things. No,
Do we
well,
really need to delve in what they're using the wedding venue for if they have another party there besides a wedding?
no, that's not what I mean. I mean, if it, all of a sudden somebody wants to have a performing art barn or something like that, then we already have a definition for it. It makes it easier for, it's not just a wedding venue. It's an event venue.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the Mansfield barn they have the prom there, things like that. So you could use it for
Sure,
whatever
yeah, reunion,
event you want,
whatever.
basically.
Live music.
Can you read that definition again, Sandy?
Any structure or area where large numbers of individuals collect to participate in or observe programs, including performing art facilities, weddings, special events. And we could add other than incidental or occasional use.
Roy,
So some sort of
your
limit
point
on
is we don't need
size,
that.
though, it should be.
Why?
I mean, we could have
I
a
don't think we do because I think
Burning Man event going on somewhere. So there should be a size limit.
I don't want to do that.
I'd have to,
You have to,
Yeah.
then you're telling people how many people they can have come to their wedding.
Well, you can make it a pretty good size, I mean, but.
How do you know how many
you can
people are
reach an outrageous proportion too.
Oh, you want an absolute, in addition to what Sandy said, you're saying there should be an absolute cap.
max.
Like,
Yeah,
but
right.
you can't have more than.
More than, say, 10,000 people.
What's that like?
10,000.
see where you're going with this.
I have no issues with your 10,000 limit, David. I feel like that's unlikely to be tripped anytime soon.
But don't they have these like rainbow gatherings? Have you heard about those? Where people come from all over the country for like a week-long camping. You've heard about those.
Yeah, they have one in,
Yeah,
And it's a huge thing, so this would
so
be,
it's always in a national forest.
is it? Okay,
Yeah.
so we don't have to worry.
Because they
I'm
were
pretty
down
sure.
in Ripton one year.
Yeah,
That's a little close.
I had a
I went
question,
over
just
it.
looking through the chart of uses in the different zoning areas. And what is a conditional use?
it's,
So you go to the zoning, or you go to the DRB and then it's not necessarily accepted, but the DRB debates about it. And what does that mean?
that's a good
Yeah, they look
question.
at the
It's
conditions, basically.
It's,
And maybe there's setbacks that are involved or something that is.
like a business or,
So you're gonna make an exception to the rules of conditional use and just.
it's something that the zoning administrator just can't issue a permit for because it's,
complex.
yeah. So, yeah, I have to look in the regs that
Yeah.
they have a list of things that need to be conditional.
Right, that's right. No,
use
it's just
approval.
know how that works, how the process works.
Yeah,
It might
I think they're
include
just
things
meant to
like
be
traffic.
I think they have like very specific.
yeah, like,
Be good to know the list.
there is a list.
They have a community center that's under conditional use, but it's not allowed in the Mansfield Scenic Preservation or the Soil and Water Conservation, which is pretty much where Poppins is.
Well, we looked at community center. It's very specific. It's a building used for. It has a building used for recreational, social, and cultural activities, which is not operated for profit and is intended primarily to serve the residents of the town or the development. In which it's like a clubhouse. I don't think we have any. It'd be like if you had a big condo development, the clubhouse, because it has to be not for profit and it has to serve the residents.
Okay,
So it's like super niche. I don't think we have any, do we?
no.
We definitely don't address these event venues right now.
Does there have to be should there be a lower limit? Like, if you have, 25 people at a party at your house, you obviously don't want that to qualify. So, or I don't know, because there's a lot, the language is not specific, but to make it specific, then it becomes like really,
You mean we're being
Restricted.
specifically vague by saying large groups of people?
yeah.
Yeah, it should be, there should be a number, it should be pretty liberal, I would think. Maybe 1,000 people even. Because we don't want something monstrous.
Wait, so you're saying
1,000 people's pretty
anything,
big.
you're saying anything
He
under,
wants a minimum.
So to get back to Tim's question, or what are we talking about right now? We're talking
two
about-
things, Tim's question and also event venue.
Yeah, this chart on page 7 just gives you a bunch of examples of
70?
conditional, page 7, conditional use, things you need to get a conditional use permit. Like a
They're not
financial
examples.
institution. What's that?
They're not examples, they're
Yeah.
written in stone
Yeah,
here,
you
yeah.
have to get a conditional use permit for where it says C in this chart. It's like a campground or a,
Yep.
so that answers your question, Eddie. Like a gravel pit is allowed in a few areas, but not allowed in others, but it's a conditional use. So that kind of gives you an idea, and it looks like they cover just about everything you could possibly want to do in town, but I'm sure somebody will come up with a new one at some point.
Well, we're doing
You're
one right now.
running a condition.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to figure out what part of town we want to allow it in too, I guess, and that seems. a little
Yeah,
tricky.
when I was looking at that in these two towns, neither of them allowed it in the villages. So it had to be,
Yeah,
Where there's more space.
well, they also have commercial districts, so that's a different thing, but, yeah.
I mean, for me, I was a little confused about, David, are you saying you shouldn't regulate? Are you saying event venues shouldn't kick in until you hit this number of people, whatever it is?
No, he's saying there should be a
Or
limit
that's
to
an
the
absolute
event.
cap in addition to event venue?
we don't need
There
to,
would be a cap, basically.
Okay, got it.
we don't need to come up with a definition for how big it can be, because that's something the DRB will address. They'll say, you can only make it 5,000 square feet, and we're going to limit the number of people that you can have there to 200 on any one occasion, right? That's what the DRB would, those are the questions they would be asking and trying to address and when they issue the permit. I don't know if they did that.
Okay.
I'd like to look and see how they responded to the Potvin thing and see what they came up with as far as
Oh,
limitations.
I know. Do you know?
I don't think they came up with limitations. I think that
Because it's an ag building.
it took something like 3 years for that to go through the DRB because Penny was pretty stuck on the word barn. What is a barn? And is a barn should be existing or should it have been there already? And they're building a barn specifically for the venue. So it was nothing that fit into our regulations.
Yeah.
There was a hole, basically, right?
Yeah.
Which is what we're trying
Well,
Right.
I can't
The
believe.
structure was bigger than the house, so that it would, then the subordination idea came in and created a problem.
Yeah.
That brought this whole
Does
subordination.
she even have
issue
a
up.
house there?
I don't know.
Yeah, she
mean,
has a house.
Details.
She does?
She lives there. I don't know if it's on that lot or maybe.
Well, Phil lives in that house.
No, the little-
Maybe adding the word ongoing is a good thing to this definition.
So what
That
what
would-
would it read if you did that?
Any structure or area where there is ongoing large numbers of individuals that collect and, or it
Ongoing's
could be at
good.
the end. Yeah.
So that would be a conditional use, basically. Right, so as Roy was saying, well, the DRB would then look at it and say, well, 10,000 people, no, we're not gonna allow that. Or,
So maybe it's just a different use in general,
Whatever, yeah.
for that use.
Yeah.
Because let's say under the
Can't
conditional use,
believe
it says conditional use review ensures that any adverse impacts of the development of adjoining properties, roads, community facilities and services in the neighborhood, what area in which the proposed use is located are addressed.
What page is that, Tim?
yeah,
5.
so we don't have to put a
Six.
number.
Six.
Right, so that would just cover it if you just call it conditional use.
Okay.
A square footage requirement would cut down on the numbers.
Yeah,
Unless
But
it's an
different, yeah,
outside venue,
That's
you know,
Woodstock.
yeah.
If you go through the,
2025.
if you go through that list of what you need to get a conditional use permit for, we don't have any restrictions on any of those. It's something that DRB, so we don't have to come up with that, right?
Well, we can,
It makes
which,
their job
which
easier.
makes their job easier.
Well, I mean, if
When you
you,
leave them something undefined, they're like, they have to define it.
well, I don't know how we would, even come up with a
Yeah, it's good to
number
have
for how
judgment,
big it
too.
could be or.
Yes, it takes longer if they don't have it, this is the period. They have to form a judgment on it, they kind of look it over.
Yeah, they-
and,
have
Figure
to-
out, is this really going to make sense or not?
You have to present a plan to the DRB of what it's
Yeah.
gonna look like, how big it's gonna be, and then they can tell you that's too big or,
Yeah,
I mean, I remember when I was on the DRB, there were some obscure things. One guy came through, he wanted to have a gun shop in his basement, and the neighbors didn't want it. And he
Was
wanted
this
to have a
in
firing range. So-
Cambridge?
No, this is over on Mountain East or somewhere over that way. And so the DRB said, well, you can only use the firing range certain hours.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you want to build a wedding venue? It can only be 5,000 square feet and you can have up to 200 people in it, period. They can put restrictions on anything anybody does. So I don't think it's something we can't,
Yeah, and
every
like
situation is different, right?
like the fire department will tell them, well, here's your capacity, because if there's a fire, you don't want to have too many people there. There's,
The
no, I
public,
agree with you. Yeah.
if it's a public building, they have to get all sorts of state permitting anyway, as far as that goes. You can't just build them.
Mhm.
I don't know that they do.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I don't think you do. If you,
I can't-
okay.
I don't buy that, that
Really,
means-
you think the one in Cambridge or Jeffersonville, the barn, the wedding barn, got a permit from the state?
Pretty sure they did.
No, they probably had to have a fire marshal come in.
Well, I
and inspect it, yeah.
can't speculate on that, but I'm thinking about the
Okay.
Mansfield barn, because I had a couple friends who worked on it as contractors, and they had to, the state had to come in and inspect, like, you built some commercial buildings, right? You have to get
Sprinklers and.
some,
Yeah.
So,
it's pretty
you know,
fire
the-
marshal, still fire safety.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not just building
Fire
something,
safety.
anything you want, and not building it up to code as far as
Still
commercial
Right.
building,
So I
right?
guess it depends on how it's seen, because I think that's another point that barn up on Pratt Road. They wanted, they want to have a wedding facility up there. They went to the state and they were gonna make them bring it all up to a commercial code level to comply with the state permitting.
Yeah.
So it's maybe just who you would tell you're doing the project or not.
Yeah, like, I'm not doing that,
What
that's
you're asked
too,
to do.
that costs too
So
much.
Boyden probably just did it and never asked questions. Where these other folks went to the state and they were
Right.
shut down. Or else it'd be too expensive to bring it up to the commercial standards.
So it seems like we have two questions. One is, well, there could be more,
Oh,
but one
this is
is,
at the Apple Orchard place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I looked at that job
Yeah.
too, I remember. And they had gotten an architect involved, and they had to bring the barn and the house up to all these really expensive, up-to-date handicap accessibility and all that, and they said, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
well, it seems like we have two issues. One is the definition of event venue. And even if we did want to put additional, or think about putting additional rules, and it seems like that would be a different section of the regs. That wouldn't be in the actual definition. So, and I'm not saying we should
Could
or
we
shouldn't do
define
that.
it as an
We just,
event barn or whatever you want to call it, for uses such as parties, weddings, gatherings?
That's what it said.
Yeah, I think that's a good
and does
definition.
anyone not like this definition?
Could you read it one more time?
Sandy? Yeah.
Any structure or area where large numbers of individuals collect
I don't know about ongoing. in there, but
Okay.
these things.
to participate in or observe programs, including performing art, facilities, weddings, special events.
So we're just defining what the thing is. And then to your point, where I'm not saying we should or shouldn't do it, I actually don't know what my view would be, but Like, I don't think that has to do with the definition. Like, if people like that definition, we could kind of,
Yeah.
Move
that's-
Forward, yeah, no, I like that.
and then we could talk about if we want to have other regulations, because that would be a different section. That wouldn't be in the definition.
Yeah, right.
Does anyone not like that definition?
Thanks,
I'm good, that's good.
nice job.
Can I see it for a second? So I can get
Uh,
into this.
You can read it.
So my only question would be if it's
No more questions.
It's the top one,
No.
but as a event.
Instead of public assembly.
if it borders on this, on the state rules versus the town rules, because it's just not a town's problem if you're saying that you can use it for these purposes, and then the state might say, well, that's, you can use it for these purposes, but then you gotta upgrade it, so it's kind of a different issue.
Well, so it depends if they're upgrading it or building it new. That would make a difference. So if you're building a new commercial building, yeah, fire marshals are gonna be involved, especially if it's a commercial building for something like that. Those are the things you're gonna have to conform to.
I guess my question is, what threshold is it, commercial versus casual residential?
Oh, I
This is
think
commercial.
that's commercial,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
it's like building a restaurant, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about it, it has to have a commercial kitchen and,
Okay.
I mean, so, yeah.
Sprinklers, anything like that.
Proper exits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it was existing, you'd have to upgrade it to those.
Yeah.
things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can take a condominium development, right? It was built 25 years ago. Most of the condos no longer meet fire code. And what you go through with a condominium to meet fire code is ridiculous because they want you to. I had a condo in Stowe that had to take out a window, a big window that didn't, the two side windows cranked open 90 degrees, but it was 19 inches, not 23 inches, or not 24. They had to take out the whole window, the whole window. It was huge. They had to replace it, and then it had to be repainted, everything. It was like, it cost like $8,000. You know, like for the reality of it is somebody's gonna come out and smash that window anyway. They wanna get out or get in. The firemen with their hatchet could smash the window. But, so the codes are tough because buildings that were built 30 years ago don't meet today's codes.
So that was for the bankers probably. A cash deal wouldn't have to deal with that. I don't think.
Oh, no, you would deal with it still. Attorneys won't let it go through without a fire marshal inspection. They consider it title issue.
Somebody would come in and sue.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or a contractor to work on it. You need a permit legally to work on it.
Hmm?
As a contractor, you need to get a permit to work on the building too.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Well, you had to get approval from the association.
So, just thinking ahead, so for next meeting, correct me if I'm wrong,
Oh, wow.
we're gonna do Sandy's reviewing agriculture and farm structure, David's circling back on barn and accessory structure. Then it seems like we also, I'm struggling to remember, did we decide what we wanted to do on utilities on steep slopes? I don't think so, right? And no one sort of, so maybe the other thing we'll talk about is debate that, utilities and steep slopes. Because that's probably a meeting, I think, right?
That's on, which one is that on this?
It's number 20, number 20s. Remember it was the septic, we were having the.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's Act 47, by the way, not 147. And it doesn't relate duplexes and accessory dwelling units at all.
Oh, interesting.
It just says any single-family home, then duplex, as long as it can meet the standards and size, it can be allowed.
Okay.
But it
So-
doesn't say anything about then an accessory dwelling unit. So I could look into that.
So there's nothing in there that says you can't do that.
There's nothing in there that says you can. It pretty much defines what you can.
Oh,
The state doesn't really get into that. It's a town issue.
So
All
that's.
right, so
something we
that's
need to
4
sort out.
things. So, and we just volunteered, and that's right. So we've got Sandy, David, Steep Slopes, which is everybody, and we duplex ADUs.
Yes.
Cool. And we get a 3-week break because it's leap year. And
Is it a leap year?
Thursday is the 29th, and we only have meetings on the first and third Thursdays. So 3-week break. Saying.
Oh, I gotta remember.
So that means we'll meet after town meeting?
Yeah, it would be like March 6th.
When's town meeting?
2 days after town meeting.
Okay.
Is there anything at town meeting that's gonna jump out at us?
I haven't seen the agenda. Has anyone seen it?
Well, no, the report's upstairs.
Yeah, I just grabbed one. I mean, yeah, because the agenda's not in there. Really.
Are you guys all good citizens and you go to town meeting?
Yeah. Don't
It's
you?
really interesting.
You don't go?
I've been once, maybe.
I
I'm
go,
gonna go this year.
I
though,
go
promise.
every year. Every
Are our
year.
taxes all going up?
Ooh. Has anybody been paying attention
You
to
know,
that?
is it 5% or 18%? I
No,
couldn't figure it
no,
out.
no.
Any article I read.
20% is what they're saying.
When I read the education rules in Vermont, not to sound like a dummy, I'll read an article in VT Digger, and halfway through, my head just starts spinning. I'm like, who designed this? How does it work?
I read that article twice. It was crazy.
It's mind numbing. Yeah, it's mind numbing.
I don't understand this. I felt really dumb.
That they think they could raise our taxes by 20% blows me away.
That's wild.
That's ridiculous.
Wild.
But then you look at the value of your real estate, right?
We just got reassessed, though.
You know, it's-
We just got reassessed, what,
Yeah,
2
but
years
it's,
ago?
so the value, well, anyway, that's a complicated argument.
It's all about education taxes. It has nothing really to do with the value of your property. It's what they're gonna assess everybody for education taxes.
Right.
The costs are going up for education.
Yeah, it's confusing, the whole system. All right. Anyone have anything else?
No.
We're actually adjourning a few minutes early because I thought that it was 7:25, but that clock is 5 minutes fast. So we get a little bonus time. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Art, thank you. Looks like David's got the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Caroline, good to hear
Thanks,
you.
Caroline.
Feel better?
Good to see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.